What is good, y'all? This is Miles and Maps here, and we are here at this really cool tool, this map I found online called the Cook Political Report. What this political map does is it is an interactive map which allows you to show how different demographics would vote in the election based on their voter turnout, such as the white non college graduate demographic. If we were to turn their turnout up to 100%, that means they would project that Donald Trump would have won the election with 341 electoral votes, as you can see right there. But that's not what actually happened. But what this tool allows us to do is take something like that and take it to its full extreme to see how one group voted in regards to presidential election compared to another group. Well, today we're going to be focusing on the African American demographic, or the Black demographic today. And the question today is, if what is Joe Biden going to do to help African Americans? Since we can see right here, compared to any other group, compared to any other demographic, there is no demographic that votes in unison altogether than black people in America. As we can already see, if we just took away just the white vote, Donald Trump cannot win an election. Republicans cannot win an election if you know white voters cannot vote, which I believe represents about 70% of the electorate, which is slowly ticking down every single year because more and more, Latinos, Asians, Black, every race ethnicity is growing in America, and the white population is not as growing as quickly, or their population is very stagnant. But as we can see here, if we take down the Latino vote, Hispanic vote, and then Asian vote, other vote, I don't know what that means, but if we just focus on this vote right here, Joe Biden wins the election, every single state, with no question. He wins over 15 million votes, and these totals are taken a couple days before the election. Every single vote was taken in, but he would have won still every single vote. I mean, every single state, every single electoral vote here. So this only shows in that Joe Biden has a mandate from every single state, plus 80% in some places, that he has a mandate to do right to his constituents, because these are the people that vote most in unison with the Democratic platform, regardless of what's being said. And this goes back to years and years and decades. Like, African Americans have not voted against the Democrats in large numbers, like sub 80% numbers. And ever since there was a party flip in the New Deal type era. So we're talking about literally generations upon generations voting with this party, regardless of who the leadership was, because of one reason or another, whether it's civil rights, whether it's even though both parties have done wrong to the Black and African Americans, both parties, even now, even Joe Biden authored one of the worst bills to the crime bill. So as we say this, Joe Biden is the president. He's been elected president. The Electoral College has happened. So as we move on, Joe Biden now he has to do a couple things, right? He has to do a couple things. The first thing is, during his campaign, he needed the African American vote, as we can see. I mean, to win, as we can see right here. If we were going to go and drop this back here, if we were to go and reset all the values, if African American turnout drops, we can even see it. So let's even back up. If African American turnout drops by even 8%, 6 or 7%, Joe Biden loses this election, and that might seem like a very far slip, but that's only counting based on these poll numbers. That's He's definitely losing Georgia, places like Minnesota and Wisconsin after we've seen these elections gone. He's not winning those. Although these African American there are strongholds in those states. They weren't going to be able to pull him forward if 6 or 7% of Black folks do not come out and vote in numbers. So, and especially places like Arizona. But if Black folks come out um, and at 100%, look at this. Places like Texas are now in play. Mississippi. Um, all right, so and all of these different places are in play. Um, Places that we wouldn't even think about. Arizona is probably more solidly in the Democratic category because it was just last one in the last election by the Democrats on the presidential level. But again, this is in this election. This is not saying it's 2024. This is saying in this election, these are based on these numbers. Joe Biden has to go forward and govern in this country, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Is We have a couple articles we're going to go over, and the first one is called "Keeping His Promises: Black Presidential Appointments in the Biden Administration." Person appointed there. So I think he's taking his time with a lot of these different appointments, but at the same time, um, if we look at this map right here, or this chart right here, this is racial and ethnic breakdown of the appointing first 100 days. 71% is usually white, and this is why we're talking about Black, because 10.5% of these appointments are usually Black, and if Black people, which are the backbone, the literal backbone of the Democratic Party, without consistent Black support, which is the second. If we look at this, they voted at 57% turnout, which is the second highest percentage. So that means Black folks came out to vote. If they voted a couple years ago at the numbers, 52%, less than 50%, the Democrats do not win this. So when we're looking at this, it's saying that African Americans, from their history, I'm Black, so from our history of slavery until now, have never been able to be in the positions to actually make the changes that we needed in our community, except after Reconstruction. And Reconstruction, that's when a lot of Black legislators were in the office and things like that. But ever since then, it hasn't been like that. So we can look at the gender breakdown between men and women. And the thing is that if we look at office, Black women are the 75% of are like 75% of the college age going part of the Black community and things like that. So out of these appointees, we can't just say Black, but are Black women being appointed as well, and that's one big focus. So if we can skip over these things like that, but this article, the whole point of this specific article is talking about what can Joe Biden do to uphold his promises to the Black community. And here are some of the things. This article literally was posted about 3 hours ago. So this article says the headline is, Black people Joe Biden is reportedly considering for his cabinet that looks like America. So if he's looking for something that looks like America, then that's already going to be a problem. But we're going to go and continue reading this article, because America, that means that although you can have a diversity of mind, like a diversity of skin color, diversity of mindset is another thing. So I think still you have to have something where people do get their best. People are in the best position as well. But when it comes specifically, and on top of that, also we have to look at the Latinos. Is he going to specifically say, well, we need this specific amount of Puerto Ricans? Think about that, because Latinos are not a monolith. So I would say if he say that looks like America, I think he's more just talking about it's going to be diverse. It's going to have a diverse mindset. Um, Hopefully that's the where he's going. So, and we look at this one right here. It says Biden picks Michael Regan, top North Carolina environmental official, to run the Environmental Protections Agency. So look at that. So he's already picking people and putting them in positions of power. He's putting people just like in a lot of people in the Trump administration were just recycled from the previous Bush administration. Biden is naming Susan Rice, director of the White House Domestic Policy Advisory Council. She worked with the Obama administration. So as we look going forward here, HUD, so the human, oh no, my bad. HUD, so housing and urban development. So I believe, yeah, it says Marsha Fudge. So there we go. So I think that he said, and he named a black woman. That's great. He named Linda, say her name, Linda Thomas Greenfield, ambassador to the United Nations, hashtag Black Women Lead. And I think when we continue to look at these things like this, is we have to ask the question is Joe Biden going to continue? He says, three sources confirm that Representative Cedric Richmond is officially joining the Biden administration in a senior role, public engagement. So Valerie Jarrett type role. So I think that it's all great. It's fantastic that he's beginning on a good foot of appointing people to different positions. But and I think on top of this, I think when as we go on, I'm gonna have to do a power ranking of the top black politicians in America right now, in politicians, public servants, because they all have different power in different ways, and they all influence the black community in different ways. And I think it's good for people to know about that, especially since the closest thing that we have to a race-based political party is the or group is the what is it, the Black Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, the CBC. So because 92% of African Americans vote in presidential elections, things like that. If 92%, that's the closest thing we're gonna get in America to something that is, I would say, like a race-based party, but based on advancing that race, because African Americans have, black folks, we have history of getting not just a short end of the stick, but literally like being history of being enslaved until now. So, and everything that has happened in between enslavement until now has not led to the advancement of black folks in a way that has been comparable to any other race of or ethnicity group of black folks, such as, like, if Nigerians come over, they're also the same skin color. If Nigerians come over from Nigeria into America, they may have different opportunities simply because the way that they're able to get over here and the standards in which America allows them to come over here are much higher than the standard in which they allow black success to be in America, and the black family to live in America. So I just think that those things we can keep going into in this as we continue with these daily videos. But again, this is the Cook Political Report, demographic swingometer, and I think this just shows that if how important different groups are, how important different groups are to our political well-being, no matter what that group is. If no African Americans vote, for example, Donald Trump and their campaign, they were having all these different discussions about trying to throw out votes in Michigan and in Georgia and Pennsylvania. Those were all in cities like Detroit, Philadelphia, and Georgia and their suburbs that are black. So that is say if that were to happen, and let's say those are huge spots. Let's say it would drop down to 40%. That means we literally flipped the election. So it should be 232 to 306 to Joe Biden. 232 to Joe Biden and 306 to Donald Trump. So I would just like to say, like, when it comes down to looking at the politics of things, the numbers of things, although, these states would still win, even look at DC, or Delaware, my bad. Places like Delaware would be a very tight, but places like this would only be 2.6%. Places like California, they might be safe, but other places they may be in grabs. So I would just like to say that as you continue looking at political maps, as you continue trying to understand politics, that allowing voting matters, and who is allowed to vote matters, and where they vote matters. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. I am Miles Mappis. Please like and subscribe. We're on that grind to 1,000 subscribers.